Most people, especially self-publishers, you don't get a book deal, so you're front-loading all of the work. Like, you don't have a book deal. The way book deals work is that if you sell it to them, sell your idea to a book publisher, they're going to give you
money. They're going to pay you to do it.
Right, exactly. They're going to give you some sort of advance to do it, and then you use that to live off of, and you write it.
I was on a podcast while we were writing the book, and the podcast host, and she said, yeah, I was kind of radio silent with content on TikTok and with my podcast because I was writing a book because I had a book deal. And so I had gotten in advance. And in my mind, I went, oh, how nice. Because instead of doing that, what we did was the opposite, which was we just did that in addition to everything else that we were already doing, which is a way to do it. I don't know if I would recommend it, but it's definitely a way you can do it.
Yeah, it's definitely an option. And so what I was going to say is that because we didn't get an advance or we didn't get paid upfront to write this book, it's not like it was our job. We had to make time in our day to write, edit, do all the things that all authors have to do. But we just had to do it within our also workday because we're not getting paid to do this, literally.
So keep in mind, if you're going to write a book, you are taking on another job.
Oh, absolutely. Here, we knew that we wanted to co-author this book together. So this is by you and me. The two other books that we've written, we did write together, but you are the author on those. For this one, we knew that we wanted to co-author together. One, because there was so much information. And then two, I think we have different perspectives on different things, and I think our combined perspective is helpful. The way that we did it is, I've never really co-authored anything because the last time that we did this, like I said, we did it under your name, so it was easy. It was very much just like,
I wrote it.
Yeah. And so even though I was, quote, ghostwriting or whatever, even though I was writing it was easy because I could just write from your perspective.
Because it was one person speaking.
Right, exactly. I could just write from your perspective. That was just easier. And with this book, I was like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Like, are we going to sit the two of us over one keyboard and just write the entire thing? And so we were thinking, okay, the way to do it is
divide and conquer.
And so we had our outline and we just made little index cards of the different sections of the outline. And that's one of the task management things that you and I...
We use index cards run our life.
I have tried every single project management app in the world. And one of the biggest things that anybody runs, if anybody works in B2B, they know this, if they make B2B SaaS software, like one of the biggest things that you have is just user adoption.
He's calling me out on this podcast again after last week's episode too. Man, you're just outing me to the whole everybody.
You need to have people actually use your product. And so even though we've tried, you name it, we've used it. And I use it pretty well.
I use it more than I used to.
I usually use whatever product it is 70% of the time, which is still not great, but it's still better than you, which you use it maybe 20% of the time, if maybe never.
No, I'd say I'd put me at 40%. I've improved. I want acknowledgement that I have improved.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nope, we're not going to move on from this until you admit it.
Okay.
Slightly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we can move on now.
And what we found though is the most effective, which is really freaking irritating. It's like not really
cards.
good. It's really just index cards.
And you don't move to the next one until you finish the one that you're on.
Yeah. And index cards are the best. So anyway, we had our outline and then we just put section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5, section 6, section 7. And you can do this too if you're not co-writing. If I was just writing this by myself, I would create the outline in a Google Doc or in whatever your OneNote, Notion, whatever you use. And then I would take a physical stack of index cards and I would write every single one down. And then even though it's just me, and I would just sit there and stare at section 1. And then I don't move from that index card until section 1 is done. And so you and I agreed that that's the way that we're going to approach it. And so that is what we did.
And it worked.
Yeah, it did. But to create time in our schedule, we ended up having to wake up and set a schedule to wake up at 4 a.m.
We did.
We had to basically wake up earlier, write for a few hours in the morning, and then we'd do our entire workday, and then we would write for a few hours at night. And then we would wake up, do it again the next day. And we did that
for months. And that's how you write a book. The end.
Yeah, exactly. And we just did it for absolute months.
And there were so many rewrites. That's how we rewrote too. We back and forth, double check, rewrite, other person double checks. It was a lot.